Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Chase, and I'm a senior program manager with the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. I'm also the lead within our buildings team on commercial building programs, and I'm pleased to introduce and announce today our Beta Commercial Buildings pilot program.
Hi, and I'm Connor Jansen, a Technical Services Director with Slipstream. We are the pilot implementation project managers.
So today we'll introduce the Beta Commercial Buildings pilot program, give you an overview of the program, talk about enrollment opportunities, what the process will look like for buildings that are selected to participate, and then the future resources that will generate out of the program for everyone to use. And I'm joined today by Connor from Slipstream, but I also want to thank and acknowledge the other members of the team, Rise Engineering, RMI, SMMA, and TSK Energy Solutions. Before we dive in, really briefly, what are decarbonization assessments and plans? So decarbonization assessments come out of the need to electrify our building stock. In order to decarbonize our buildings within the state and meet our 2050 carbon goals, we have to move the majority of fossil fuel combustion systems like space and water heating, as well as cooking and laundry, onto efficient electric sources. But as the more end uses move on to the electric grid, the carbon intensity of that grid will need to approach zero as well, while also increasing the generation capacity. So if you look at the right, this is a clip from the Massachusetts 2050 decarbonization roadmap showing what our current condition is with end uses, what that looks like in terms of fuel mix if we decarbonize and add energy efficiency. And then the last graph is if we only electrify, but we don't add energy efficiency as well, what that fuel mix looks like. So to tackle this problem, we'll be performing decarbonization assessments, which will include on-site review of equipment, infrastructure and operations, along with carbon calculations and cost implication estimates. And that'll inform the short-term and long-term recommendations for both load reductions and efficiency improvements, as well as the electrification of equipment. That'll be followed up by decarbonization plans, which are a combination of that technical assessment along with capital planning considerations to help owners develop a timeline and a series of implementation steps to decarbonize their buildings. The Beta Commercial Buildings program falls under our Beta umbrella, which is the Building Electrification and Transformation Accelerator here at MassCEC. This is a suite of programs focused on decarbonization assessment, planning, and implementation approaches, which inform decarbonization policies, recommend approaches to advanced decarbonization incentive programs, and we really see these as the key early link in the chain towards fully decarbonizing our buildings. The timeline for the Beta Commercial Buildings pilot program is that we're kicking off the application window on November 1st of this year. We'll be having rolling applications through the spring of 2024, completing assessments and plans for the initial cohort through the fall of 2024, and generating and publicizing market resources and guidance from what we learned during those initial assessments.
I'm going to talk a little bit about process. That starts with enrollment. So when it comes to requirements, applicants must own and be the primary decision maker of the project site. While we're going to work with various different stakeholders, it's really important to have that owner buy-in as well throughout the process. Applicants should be committed to decarbonizing their project site, either through an over time or all at once approach. And we're going to work through that with individual projects and find out really what the best pathway there is. All projects, of course, must be performed in compliance with local, state, and federal laws and codes. And project sites can be either owner or tenant occupied, but it's important that the tenants of the project site are aware of the pilot and are willing to cooperate with data gathering and coordination. So we're going to need access to the tenant spaces. In a multifamily building, that'll most likely be for some typical units. When it comes to eligible building types, we're targeting commercial buildings over 20,000 square feet across a multitude of typologies. So that could be offices or community buildings, food service, healthcare facilities, higher education and K through 12 schools, hospitality and hotels or dormitories, labs, several different types of retail from mixed use all the way up to big box retailers, supermarkets, warehouses, and distribution centers. For multifamily housing, we are looking at larger multifamily developments of 50 units or more. As we're looking to accept applications and select project sites and buildings, we're targeting a diverse mix of at least 15 sites within that first cohort. And that's based on 3 different value propositions. The first is a high scaling impact. And so this is really looking at what are some of the common building types across the state, which buildings have high fossil fuel usage, and which types of buildings may be aligning with certain policies like benchmarking or building performance standards. The next value proposition is environmental justice. So we'll be looking at common building types within EJ communities, as well as buildings that serve EJ communities based on geographic location. Lastly is applicability, or really breadth and depth. So that means that we want a wide mix of HVAC systems, from complex systems to simple systems, projects that are looking to decarbonize all at once or over time, and a range of typologies and different ownership drivers. A market summary and prioritization matrix was drafted to help support this typology selection, and that's available on the project website if you want more information. And we plan to have rolling applications into 2024. However, we do recommend that you apply early for your best chances of selection, as well as fully complete the application information. If you do have questions, there are areas for comment, and we would be happy to discuss in more detail if you do have questions or are unsure of specific components. When it comes to developing the strategic decarbonization plan, it's really consists of 2 components: a technical assessment as well as capital planning considerations. For the technical assessment, we'll be conducting a site visit, system inventory, and condition review. We'll provide benchmarking of both energy and carbon intensity. And then we'll start to go through enabling step recommendations like load reductions or energy efficiency opportunities, potential distribution conversions, or electric infrastructure upgrades. We'll then dive into decarbonization recommendations, or really electrification, swapping out combustion systems from the site. That also entails heat recovery and storage, and renewables and EV considerations. For capital planning, we'll work with you to identify investment triggers such as end-of-life equipment replacement needs, potential renovations or upgrades that you're planning, looking at what your capital cycle really looks like, potential tenant improvements, and of course, regulatory compliance. We'll conduct a life cycle cost assessment around utility bill impacts. We'll help you navigate potential financing, incentives, and other programs that are out there. And then we'll work with you on risk, resilience, and future readiness considerations. Finally, we'll help give some guidance along your journey for procurement pathways so that in the end, you have this strategic decarbonization plan that can get you started on the first steps for project implementation. So here's an overview of the general timeline. It starts with the award, which would be right around 1 to 3 months from application. So you're going to complete the online application. We're going to follow up, potentially requesting additional information or with an award notification. And you may need to upload some additional documentation as well, like energy bills and things like that. For the assessment and planning stage, this will take about 2 to 4 months, depending on building complexity. And this includes a utility bill review, an in-person site visit, and then an interim strategy developed with you. You're going to help support some of the capital planning considerations through a few discussions, and then we're going to produce a decarbonization plan for you. The last step is market guidance. So this is going to be a follow-up between 1 and 3 months after the assessment and planning stage, where you're going to help provide insights on the process through either a written survey or phone interview. And then we're going to develop and share resources with interested parties and stakeholders based on the information we find within these individual project assessments. So the overall outcomes with the beta commercial pilot are: 1, decarbonization plans that are customized for each participant building. And these case studies will be utilized to inform the next set of resources. So these market tools are going to provide holistic steps for building decarbonization that are developed for a wide range of commercial buildings. And then lastly, we're going to be providing policy guidance and recommendations focused on market transformation to help identify gaps in areas to support broad-scale adoption of commercial building decarbonization. So if you're interested in the beta commercial buildings pilot, we recommend that you go to the MassCEC website, where you'll find additional information on the pilot, the ability to actually apply or follow up with any questions that you might have. Thank you.